Hi, this is Texas Insider with another episode of Racetrack, where we take a look at political races around the state of Texas. We're currently following the race for State House District 50, which encompasses northern Travis County. Though the Austin area is known to lean Democrat, and the office is currently held by three-term Democrat Mark Strama, there's a new dynamic to deal with in this year's election cycle. The Democratic Party has grown very unpopular nationwide, and increasingly we're seeing signs that once safe seats are slipping. Many observers now see an anything goes type environment. District 50 has a strong challenger this year in Republican nominee Patrick McGuinness. We want to offer viewers a closer look at Mr. McGuinness. Come, join us on the campaign trail. Hi, this is George Skaggs for Texas Insider. I'm here today with Patrick McGuinness, Republican candidate for Texas State Representative District 50. So Patrick, tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for public office.
So I've been in private sector my whole life. This is my first time running for office, and I'm running to offer a conservative alternative to the current Democrat incumbent who's endorsed Obama and follows his agenda. I'm running and got motivated because of what I saw in Washington. I don't approve of the policies. They have failed our economy, they failed the people, and we need to get back to a more fiscal conservative approach and one where we have smaller government and more responsive government.
Austin has a strong high-tech sector in the jobs market, and you've been in that industry for 20 years. What are some of your ideas on job creation?
Yeah, Austin has been a great mecca for high-tech, and it's been a good center for high technology. And Texas has been the #1 job creator in the nation. A lot of that is due to the formula that works for job creation. We need to get back to that as a nation. We need to make sure we stand for that and continue to follow those policies here in Texas. And that's keep tax rates low, have government stay fiscally responsible, have regulations that are fair and reasonable so we have a good business climate, and make sure we have a well-educated workforce. When it comes to those policies, as a fiscal conservative, I'm going to make sure that we do keep the taxes low. I've pledged to oppose any tax increases, and I'll fight to make sure that we have the lowest possible taxes, and that will have the spending down so that we can afford to have that kind of a system. We need to say no to spending we can't afford, and we need to also fight for property tax relief. So I'm going to fight to keep the appraisal caps down for property taxes. When it comes to the high technology part of it, the well-educated workforce is very important. So we need to have excellence in education, both in the K-12 system and also in higher education. So make sure we maintain the research universities that we've got, and make sure that we've focused what the resources we've got on science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM focus, both again in the K-12 and in high schools, and also in the university level.
You mentioned cutting spending. Texas has a serious budget shortfall that'll have to be dealt with in the next legislative session. Share with us some of your ideas on spending.
Yeah, as I said, I'm going to protect the taxpayers, so I'm going to basically say no to any higher taxes. So what are we left with? We've got to make sure we do it on the spending side. There is a projected shortfall, but that's due to projections on both spending and on revenues. So if we can do what we can to make sure we're keeping the economy on track, that'll help the revenues. On the spending side, we've just got to say no to higher spending we can't afford. Let's go back and zero baseline our budget. Let's look at previous years. For example, if we go back to 2007 and bring that forward in terms of growth and income, we can see that effectively a large amount of that shortfall is due to increases in spending above that trend line. That's due partly to the fact that we've got stimulus money that came in the last biennial budget. Some of that was one-time spending, but it was folded into ongoing spending. We've got to take a look at some of that increased spending that we had and see if we really can unroll some of that, or what we can do to kind of take that back. Setting priorities, having a zero baseline budget, and going back and looking at efficiencies across every agency is what we're going to need to do.
Incumbent Mark Strama was elected to the House in 2004. He's had a chance to prove himself. What are some of the primary distinctions between you and your opponent?
Well, Mark Strama has been in office for several cycles, and in those several sessions he's done several things that I would not have done. One thing is that in 2007 he voted with Democrats against property tax relief. He voted in a way to support a Democrat alternative that would have in effect hampered the ability to provide relief to the property taxpayers. He also has voted for local option gas taxes. I think we need a different approach, say no to higher gas taxes, but look at ending the diversions of gas tax money away from road uses. He's also voted in other cases for things such as he voted against giving children the right to express themselves on religious matters in schools. I think that's a First Amendment issue, and I think we need to allow children to have that kind of freedom of expression. In other areas, he's been more of a tax and spend type of a liberal Democrat. He was rated one of the most liberal legislators by the Young Conservatives of Texas. He's got a failed rating from Texans for fiscal responsibility. I'll be a more fiscally conservative and a more overall conservative legislator than he has been. I'll add one more thing. He's voted against voter ID, and he joined the Democrats in the last session to filibuster that, and I would definitely be for voter ID.
You mentioned voter ID earlier. It was a very contentious issue in the last session. How would you have dealt with that differently?
Yeah, one of the problems they had in the last legislative session was that we had a very partisan act by the Democrats. They did not like the voter ID bill. It's a very common sense bill to protect the ballot box and require voters to show their photo identification. And most Texans support it. I support it, they as well. My opponent, he opposed it, as did many of the Democrats in the State House. They decided that they opposed it so much that they talked these other bills in the State House legislative session to death, so to speak, to basically stymie the entire legislative session. So hundreds of bills were killed in order to stop that one bill. I don't think we should take that kind of approach. If we've got a disagreement about one bill, we shouldn't let that disagreement stop the business of the State House from going forward. We should, be able to make progress in other areas, even if we don't agree. So I think that partisan act, that filibuster, was really unwarranted on the parts of the Democrats.
So the federal government passed Obamacare, very controversial, and our state attorney general filed suit, among others. What is your position on the Obamacare bill?
I oppose it, and I do support the attorney general in 20 states who are saying that the individual mandate that's embedded in that health care bill is unconstitutional. I don't believe it's constitutional as well. And let's hope that the federal courts agree with that. It's also important to note that we have the requirement to implement these elements of the federal health care bill at the state level. And the decisions we make as voters in this election will determine what we do and how we do it. We have the Democrats at the state level saying we just have to go ahead and implement everything the federal law says. That will include a $27 billion hit to Medicaid over the next 10 years. That will include a lot of regulations that are going to cost the state a lot of money, are going to cost individuals a lot of money, and are going to cost businesses a lot of money, and will force us to basically lose jobs, have a worse economic situation, because those costs are going to be added and will make it harder for businesses to hire and for people to do things. We see a lot of the negative impacts of these higher costs and higher mandates already. I have a different approach on this. I think we need to reduce mandates. We need to go for more affordable health care by providing more choices, not less choices. And I think we do need to stand up to the federal government when they go too far and when they encroach on the individual rights and the states' rights that we have.
This is George Skaggs signing off for Insider TV. Be sure and check back with us for another episode.